Meanwhile, the president doing what he does best, tweeting and screaming at Democrats right now as being obstructionists on tax reform. He does have a little bit of reason for his argument here. They are not supporting his efforts with this latest tax package. So efforts made to try to win more Democratic support apparently have fallen on deaf ears, at least in the House. It's looking that way in the Senate. To former Bush 43 Deputy Assistant Brad Blakeman, Democratic strategist Jessica Tarlov. Jessica, what the president seems to be saying is that thanks to your guys, it's up to us guys. What do you say?
Well, it's up to them for sure, but the problem is us guys, too, if the us guys are the Republicans. There are a lot of Republicans who don't like what's going on with these various versions of the tax reform bill, and for good reason. I will say I think that you made a really important point in an earlier segment on this show where you said that on economic issues, both sides can prove their case. There's always something that you can say. So with the tax bill, I can say this is terrible for the middle and lower classes. These are the reasons why. Alternative minimum tax, estate tax, the conservation tax that benefits people who own golf clubs. We know who owns a golf club. Can talk about corporate profits soaring, but why haven't wages gone up? Because rich people don't give back. Gary Cohn saying CEOs are going to benefit. I got it all. And then I'm sure Brad, in due time, will make the case on the other side. The American people, though, are siding with me on this. And that's really where I think that this is going to come down to, because people want to get reelected. And the American public is seeing through this.
Well, we don't know what they're seeing because we don't know what we got.
Well, they're saying
for sure.
Only 16% are saying that this is going to benefit anyone but the rich. So.
All right. Well, but to be fair, I mean, if that's what you're hearing in a lot of the mainstream media coverage, and as you just acknowledged at the outset, Jessica, you can study this and get under the hood either way. But I will say where I agree with Jessica, Brad, is that war is being won in the media as far as the way this is presented is skewed to the rich. Now, I know it could play a number of ways. So I'll ask you a question I've asked others on this show, and I'll ask a good congressman as well, who voted against the package in the House. Are you afraid of getting what you want? Because once people experience the net paycheck gains, they might not be that big, and they might not be that pleased.
I happen to think that tax reform is generationally long overdue. It's been 31 years. But, Neil, I have to agree with Jessica in the sense that we haven't done a very good job of selling the kind of proposals that are going to help the middle class. You know, policy is made here in Washington, but it's sold on Main Street. And Republicans needed to get out on Main Street, and it's not too late to do that because the bill is not anywhere near its final stage. The Senate still has to weigh in.
But it's not simple to explain. For example, I know yesterday the Speaker was talking about the $1,800 a year the average family will see. So if you get paid, you know, every other week, that's $65 net in your paycheck. That's not chump change. I'm not dismissing it. But it's not so dramatically big that you're going to go out and spend like crazy on it. And tax cuts, by definition, to have consequence and to have impact, they have to be big. Is this big enough for you?
It is big enough for me because between the simplification of the tax code, the reduction of rates, and the repatriation of corporate profits, this has amazing potential for growth. Now, Democrats don't believe that that's even possible. They forget the Reagan years, where growth actually is a system of economic prosperity. They just believe that if we send money to the government and they spend it for us, that is going to be the method by which Americans are able to rise up. That's not the case. But we have to make the message simple, Neil. We have to make it understandable.
No, you're quite right about it. Jessica, do you worry, let's say, and then Democrats are united in their opposition.
Right.
They've been very organized about that, but that this could come back to bite them, that it looks like that you were against everything, much as you claim Republicans were against everything you did when you guys were in power.
I'm not as worried because the proposals coming out of the GOP have been just that bad on health care and now on tax reform. We have 10 red state Democrat senators who are up for re-election, and these are states that Donald Trump did really well in. These weren't just squeakers. So, of course, we're thinking of Claire McCaskill. We're thinking of Heidi Heitkamp. We're thinking of Joe Manchin. Now we have a potential to pick up an Alabama seat, which would be unbelievable, moving back towards getting a majority there. And I'm sure you guys have seen the articles out there about the potential for a Dem wave election for the House. So this is incredibly important, and we want to make sure that every representative is representing their constituents as best possible. You know, Heidi Heitkamp has a lot of constituents who like a lot of GOP policies, right? They want a big tax cut. The problem here is, and to Brad's point, and I appreciate you saying that you agree with me on this, the messaging of saying, actually, we're going to hike up the corporate tax cut lower the individual tax cut because it's going to trickle down, it doesn't sound good. And I don't think it sounds good from an economic perspective. I remember that, well, I was born like a little bit into the Reagan years, but I read about it. And I know what kind of gains that we saw.
We did have a lot of jobs during those years.
We did.
We did, and we did in the 90s as well. I'm just saying when you say...
And by the way, that 90s,
I was
a lot of investment-related taxes went down markedly, right?